I'm so excited to have Jacqueline here with us today because she is a holistic movement coach. So, what does the body really need in midlife? And why is it different than when we're younger?
I think the thing is that when we're in our 20s and even early 30s, we think we can actually do lots of different things. We think that we can, we can scale mountains, we can do all sorts of different things. And I just think it's really understanding and listening to your own body. So as we get older, if we've done different sports like racket sports and things like that, we've actually ended up becoming imbalanced. So we do things, we favor one side, combine that with, the things with computers and being forward head like this all of the time. So you end up having issues with that. So you've really got to start from that inside out and actually work with your nervous system, whether you're fight or flight or rest and digest. So this is really about working with that and really understanding that it's different when you get into midlife. It's a great part of life and you can become fit and healthy and do lots of different things, but it's really about working smarter, not harder.
I know that you work with the inner core. Could you give a little bit of a description or a definition of that?
Right, so what I do is either I liken it to a house, like a frame of a house, or a chassis of a car, so the structure of the car. So the inner core or inner unit, which is the technical term for it, is the chassis of the car, and the outer of the car, the body of the car, are the prime movers like obliques, abdominal muscles. So rectus abdominis, that one looks like a six pack, rectus abdominis, the obliques are the side muscles, the back muscles, the back stabilizers. So that's the body of the car. So you need to train the inner core first to increase stability for movement so that then you're not actually loading on a weak column. Okay, same as a house. You need to build a strong frame because otherwise, if you put all of the different things on it, the bricks or the jib board or whatever, it's just going to actually fall down like a pack of cards.
Okay, so how can women really tell if their inner core is disengaged? And what are the key
The,
signs to
how,
look for?
the key signs are, and this is probably one of the most common things, and a lot of these things are put down to aging, incontinence. People end up with incontinence. You're running for a bus, or your grandkids come up and say, "Oh, Gran or Nana, can you come and jump on the trampoline with me?" And you're like, and you feel like you're going to pee yourself. Okay, because I've worked with clients where I've used a mini tramp and they haven't been able to jump for long periods because they want to go to the toilet. So that's one of the main ones. Another thing is if they've ended up with issues where they've got scar tissue, that would be a sign that their core is disengaged. So they've had a hysterectomy, they've had a C-section, those things. They've had some form of operation in the abdominal wall, or structurally. So they're not as straight as they used to be. So that'll be some of the signs, some of the factors. And you know your own body, you're the one sitting in it, inside of your own body, day in, day out. You know yourself what is going on. So listen to your own advice.
Okay. So, is there a simple way to test at home if your inner core is working properly?
I think the thing is to be able to test the inner core, and I've got a little tool that you could use. So what you need to do is you need to get a piece of string. So I'm going to give you a little tool here to test for yourself. Okay. Where you actually generally wool or string, it's actually got to be long enough to be able to tie around your waist. So basically, you get it in against your skin and then you tie it into a bow, and you need to be able to put one finger width between the string or wool and your skin. And so when you breathe in, the string becomes tight, and when you breathe out, the string becomes a string or wool becomes slack. So if you actually went out for a walk using that tool and just breathing normally and it was constantly tight, that is an indication that you're not engaging your core. And this is a really good training tool to be able to use. Um, because most people don't really know how to engage. So this is pelvic floor, transverse abdominis runs along the bikini line, diaphragm, and back stabilizers.
So by doing this, are you going to reset your energy by starting to pay attention to the inner core?
So with the inner core, it's really closely connected with your nervous system. So your fight or flight parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system. So it's connected really well with that, as well as the gut and the core, the inner core are on the same neurological loop or switchboard. So therefore, everything that you do with the inner core also affects everything else in your body because your body actually works as a unit. It's a very comprehensive machine that adapts based on what you do to it. Okay, because it doesn't have a sense of humor. So, so it's really about working with that.
So how would you calm yourself or soothe yourself by changing something about the inner core?
I think the thing is, if your body starts to work better, going back to the car, you can have the right fuel, you can calm your nervous system down. But if the engine's not running correctly, everything is not going well mechanically, it's not actually going to work well. It's not going to work with your nervous system. So it's really about calming yourself down, having time for yourself. And within this summit that we're doing at the moment, there's going to be lots of different people, speakers, some fantastic speakers talking about different elements of a way how you can attack your body from different angles. It's not just about doing one thing. Okay, so it's using starting with breathing through your diaphragm because the inner core, diaphragm, pelvic floor, TVA, and back stabilizers are all part of that inner core. So breathing correctly. And what I would do is I would get people to start doing it on all fours, if you can go on all fours, preferably in front of a mirror, side on, and actually breathing in. So you drop your belly down, breathe in, and then you pull your belly up, breathe out. So it's actually the opposite way, but on all fours because it actually works with your nervous system. It excites your nervous system if you do it on all fours. It's called a 4-point stance, the exercise. Okay. So you have to have a neutral spine. And what I do with clients, I actually put a piece of dowel, wood, along from their head to their tailbone so that then they keep that neutral spine and then breathing in and out. Or they can get their partner because I have clients who work together and I get them to put their hand under their belly and then they breathe in and they drop their belly down. And then when they breathe out, they push their belly up. Because if you're doing it sitting or laying down, the muscle cannot connect to the brain. So that's why you've got to do it in different positions because unfortunately we don't spend our life laying down. It's actually about training the body in the correct way from the brain to the muscle.
Okay,
Does that make
so
sense?
you want to make that connection between the brain and your
The
entire. Now
muscle.
that's where also the microbiome is, right? In your inner core.
Yeah,
That's where all your
yeah,
bacteria
yeah.
and fungi and everything like that, everything that breaks down the food.
That's right. And so that's where they work in synergy together. But most people don't know how. So secondary to childbirth or pain, the core muscles would have switched off secondary to pain. And so with pelvic floor exercises, you can squeeze till the cows come home. Your body's not going to work if it's not activating all of those muscles in synergy. So most people, the connection from the brain to the muscle is disengaged. And I give people strategies around the exercise I just spoke about now. And they say, well, how many times do I need to do it? Because I think about sit-ups. Okay. And I say, well, how long is a piece of string? You're retraining the brain. So the pathway from the brain to the muscle takes time to reconnect. And I mean, I've helped my elderly mother who's 88, okay, reconnect her muscles. So you can do it, you can connect it, but it's just about you have to retrain the brain. So it's a different way of thinking about it, fixing it from the inside out, because if you fix the inside, the outside will start to move and look a lot better in the mirror.
So, what you're saying when you make this new connection, repetition helps, but it's
Yeah, repetition.
not a particular number. Like you can't say, I'm going to connect it 5 times and that's enough.
No, no, so it depends on lots of factors. If somebody's got scar tissues, and I've had a fractured tailbone and three C-sections, that's why I actually had three C-sections, because I've got quite a small pelvis, even though I'm 5'11". So something could have happened, an event. Obviously, if somebody's got some other autoimmune disease like fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, lupus, they'll have other issues of connecting with the nervous system. So it, it's let's just put it this way. If somebody was doing general strength training, it probably would take 500 reps to be able to gain that habit and their body to adapt. Okay. To be able to retrain it, it's going to take up to 5,000 repetitions to be able to get it back.
Oh,
So it's just one of those things, but it's something that you can practice. And so working with several exercises that I use where I use the 4-point stance, going out and walking. So it's about isolating the movement. So using the inner core, engaging the inner core, and then implementing it into movement. So isolating it and then implementing it to movement. But at first, it's a bit like tapping your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. You can't do it. So that's why you've got to isolate it and then you've got to integrate it together. Does that make sense? That's what you need to
yeah.
do. So but because if somebody's had issues and they've got into their 50s and 60s or whatever, they've had all of those different muscle imbalances, they've had different things going on. And so, therefore, it's going to take time to be able to retrain the neurotransmitters back to the muscle with the pathway.
So you're not going to do 5,000 all at once. You're going to do this over months or something like that, right?
Yeah, so you're going to do it every day. So there's certain exercises that you can do, even just breathing correctly through your diaphragm, either on all fours, doing it in different positions. But generally on all fours, the brain gets disorientated, and so therefore, when you do it on all fours, it has to work a little bit harder to connect it, and then you take it from that to a semi short stop. A bit like, is it baseball? Where you've got the short stop stance up to standing and then implement it. So there's lots of different ways of doing it, but you've got to start with the inner core and then work it out from there.
So when they're working with their inner core, is there anything they can do while they're sitting down, for example? Because I know we can be sitting down for long periods of time in in this economy.
I think the thing is practice, practice, practice. And I mean, I do have clients that I've worked with, and they're practicing their breathing, and people that have worked with me on my program where, because when they first start doing it, they overdo it. They're over breathing, they're over breathing, they're over engaging. And the partner will say to them, "What's going on? You're having another baby or something." Going into labor. So it's just really about practicing it. So you can actually do it sitting down where you're putting your hands on your belly and you're breathing in, pushing your belly out towards your hands and breathing out and pulling your belly button back. And this is where using the piece of wool or the string is a good idea, where you're tying it, but you need to make sure that it's tight enough. So I said 1 finger width between the wool or the string. Obviously, wool is better because it's not scratchy, but it's got to be on your skin. And then start doing things like doing the vacuuming and things like that. And if it's not slackening and tightening in relation to load, okay, then it's load as in lifting, then therefore it's not working correctly. So if somebody was going to pick up a feather, they're not going to engage their core. If they're going to lift a suitcase and put it in the overhead locker, yes, they are. So it's actually about training that as well in combination. So you're actually retraining the brain.
So I know that you have some really wonderful gifts that you're going to share with the the people in this masterclass. So can you enlighten us?
So first of all, I've got a body chassis, and I always go back to the car analogy,
Mm.
checkup. Well, this is a postural assessment and an inner core assessment. And so even though this might be virtually, I have trained hundreds of women retrain the inner core, and they've had who have had cancer, who've had scar tissue, you name it. Okay, issues, structural issues. So, as part of that, I might ask you to actually submit some reports that I can look at as well if you've been to different specialists. And really, from that, I can do a postural analysis. So it's a 45-minute assessment where we actually go through, and then I give you a plan to go forward with how we can actually rectify that and go forward. The second one, which is the VIP one, is actually a 5-day intensive, full body renovation method intensive, where you actually get to work with me and you get an exercise program using the inner core work to be able to actually do that. And actually you follow that for the 5 days so that then you really get cemented of what you've actually done on the first bit. Okay. As well as part of that, some different habits and some pre-screen forms, just so that then I can understand what sort of exercise you've done, because obviously it's really about understanding what somebody is going on. So it's about assessing, not pretty much guessing. So with that 5 days, you literally get access to me all of the time through the program. So you get access to the program for 5 days, and you have the exercise program that you do. And it's a really good way of kickstarting your health and fitness. It's a fantastic opportunity.
It certainly sounds like it. Wow. I'm excited. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom about the inner core and how that can really just change your life. When you're in midlife, you can actually age backwards.
You can.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.